Hi and welcome back to Yoga Berry, your yoga for scoliosis community. I'm Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga teacher specializing in yoga for scoliosis. And today I've got a practice for you which is specifically for right lumbar curves. And you will need a yoga belt for the practice, and you can use a little hand towel, or I'm using one of these eye pillows here. We'll just need it for a little bit of cushioning. But you'll see once we get into this. So get everything ready, join me on the mat. If you do enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up, send me some comments. I always love to hear from you, and let's get started. So we're going to start lying on the back. Just have your belt somewhere close by, have your folded hand towel or your little cushion somewhere close by, and just lie in your constructive resting position, meaning the feet flat on the ground, feet about hip distance apart. And if you need something underneath the head, just support your head if that feels a little bit more comfortable. This is just to kind of settle and to get started with the practice, just to get an overall sense of your starting position today. How do you feel physically before we get into the practice? How do you feel on an energetic level? How do you feel mentally? So take a few moments here, just until the body starts to settle a little bit more into the ground. And let's bring the awareness to the breath. So we're just gently inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Just noticing the movement that the breath creates in the body. And then just notice your contact with the floor. Noticing how the shoulder blades settle into the ground. And then noticing how the hips are settling into the ground. And maybe you feel, depending on how severe your curve is and how much rotation there is, maybe you feel that the right hip is a little bit heavier than the left hip. Maybe you feel that there is more contact on the floor with the right side of the hips than the left side. So don't worry if you don't feel this. I'm just asking you to observe. And if you do feel that there is a difference, what we're going to do is we're going to support the right side of the hips with either our folded hand towel, or I'm using this eye pillow here, and just without lifting the hips, just kind of move the knees over to the side so you can wedge it under, just to give that right side of the hips a little bit of a lift, and then see how that feels. It might feel strange at the moment. What we want to do here is to allow for the left side of the hips to drop a little bit more, to be able to release a little bit more. And then again, just give it a few breaths. See how this affects the rest of the body. See how it affects maybe the rib cage. So it's a very, very slight derotation of the spine. Sometimes these very small adjustments can make a huge impact, especially if we are aware, especially if we're really paying attention. Good. So let's take the support away now. We won't need that anymore, but just see what it feels like when you take it away. Maybe you have shifted the weight over towards the left a little bit more. Maybe it drops right back. So just see how this might have changed. Good, and then from there we're just slowly going to start to move the knees from side to side. So just like a windscreen wiper movement, rolling from one edge of the pelvis to the other. Just enjoying that little massage to the back of the pelvis. Good, and then coming back to center, take hold of your belt. And we'll take the belt around the right foot, around the right ball of the foot. Just going to extend that leg, the right leg up towards the ceiling. So create that little bit of resistance, pulling on the belt and at the same time extending the foot into the belt. And we're just going to give it a few breaths here, allowing for the back of the leg to open. See if you can consciously relax your shoulders and your neck, maybe moving the head from side to side a few times. Good. And then from there, take the belt into the left hand and we're going to internally rotate the legs. So if you're going a little bit pigeon-toed, and it's not just the foot, but it's a whole of the leg that is turning just slightly towards the middle. Gives a different stretch, and then just ever so slightly move the leg into the direction of the toe. So I'm looking for a bit more of a stretch here towards the outside of the leg, but keeping the right hip firmly on the ground. So we're just going to keep the hips really level, really centered. Good. So we're just going to give it a few breaths until you feel that the muscles start to soften a little bit more. It becomes a little bit less effort. And then just coming back to center. And little trick to change sides. I'm simply going to lift the left leg and then replacing the right foot this way. So it's just a little bit easier instead of fiddling around with the belt too much. So again, just pulling on the belt slightly, extending the left leg up towards the ceiling. Now, because our left leg is up now, chances are that the left side of your waist has slightly shortened. And because of the right lumbar curve, this is already short. So can you consciously lengthen the left side of the waist a little bit more? Good. So again, we're going to give this a few breaths here. And then taking the belt into the right hand, internally rotating the leg and move it just ever so slightly into the direction of the toes. The toes are pointing towards. Just to get that little bit of a different stretch, different dimension to the stretch. We're just going to hold it for a few breaths. We're really anchoring the left hip down and we're wanting to keep the left side of the waist nice and long. Good. And then let's slowly come back to center and we're going to release. So just putting the belt to the side, bring the knees in towards the chest. Rocking from side to side a few times. And then we're going to slowly make our way into all fours. So start to roll over to the side, support yourself with your hands. And we're going to come up into all fours from there. Good. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips. And let's start with our cat-cow. But before we get into this, so with our right lumbar curve, we want to make sure that we're at all times in any of these exercises, we keep the left side of the waist really, really nice and long. So think about kind of the hips slightly shifting over towards the right to lengthen that left side of the waist a little bit more. Good. So we're going to come into cat-cow. Inhaling, bring the chest forwards. And then exhale, pressing the floor away from you, rounding through the spine. Inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the chest, looking up. And exhale, rounding through the spine. Good. Keep going. So imagine opening the front of the body on the inhale. And on the exhale, we're opening the back of the body. Really extend into the back of the body a little bit more. Good. Inhaling. And then exhaling. Good. Let's do a few more of these. Moving at your own pace, moving with your breath. So it becomes this really lovely, fluid, continuous movement. Good. One of the best exercises for the spine, just keeping the spine nice and mobile. Good. Let's come back to center, and we're going to come into extended puppy pose. So tuck your toes under. We're going to walk the hands forwards, and we're going to come up onto the fingertips, lengthening through the whole of the spine, crown of the head reaching forwards, and then the tailbone reaching towards the back of the room. Think about the left side of the waist, so shifting the hips slightly over towards the right, so you can keep the left side really long. Now this feels really awkward for me, by the way, because I have a left lumbar curve, so I would normally do the other way. But for this purpose of the video, I'm going to practice with you and shifting the weight over to the hips over to the right to lengthen the left side. Good. Slowly coming back to center. So we want to keep the same length in the spine in that extended puppy pose. So it's not a rounding, but it's an extending. We want to take this into our downward dog. So spread your fingers wide, tuck the toes under, sending the hips up towards the ceiling. And you can keep your knees bent here and see if you can really focus on the length of the back, and especially the left side of the waist. So again, ever so slightly shifting the hips over towards the right. Relax the head, move the head from side to side. Good, and then bring your knees down. We're going to come and rest in child's pose for a few breaths. So just you can either support the head, supporting the forehead, or bring the arms alongside the body. Just whatever feels more comfortable. Just taking a moment to come back to your breath. Downward dog is quite a strong pose. Good, slowly bringing yourself up. Let's come back into that downward dog. Tuck the toes under, send the hips up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to start to walk the feet forwards towards the hands, coming into a forward bend Uttanasana, taking hold of your elbows, and you can sway the upper body from side to side. You can move the head from side to side. And then releasing the arms, bend the knees, and then slowly start to roll yourself up into standing. Keep looking down, restacking the spine, coming all the way up into standing position. We're going to come into stand in mountain pose for a moment. So just allowing for the body to adjust to this upright position. Noticing your contact with the floor. Close your eyes for a moment. And notice where your weight is. Do you have more weight in one foot than the other? And if you do, maybe shift the weight over so that there's equal pressure into the floor. And then see if you can imagine how when you're pressing the feet down into the ground, how everything else seems to grow a little bit taller. So there's this lift through the whole body, through the spine, through the rib cage, lengthening through the crown of the head. Good, and then let's open the eyes. We're going to come into triangle pose. So take the feet about shoulder not shoulder width. Take the arms out, and so the feet should be just underneath their hands, if that makes sense. So about a meter and a half, let's say. Turning the left foot out, the right foot in. Bring the right hand onto the waist, left hand onto the left leg. We're going to slide the hand down the leg, but see if you can not bend over here to the side. So this side especially, we want to keep the left waist really nice and long. So think about how you get into the pose. See if you can already lengthen and then coming into that triangle shape. So maybe on this side you are a little bit higher because you're really concentrating on keeping the left waist long. Rotating the chest up and then lift the top arm, looking up towards the top hand. Good. Really pressing the feet into the ground. Again, we want to, especially in those standing poses, we want to focus on the length in the spine. It's not about how far the hand will reach down. It's actually better to be a little bit higher up. Good. Press the feet into the ground to come all the way up. And then bring the hands to the waist. We're simply changing the feet. So turn the left foot in and the right foot out. Good. So now we are going against the curve. So this is nice because it's going to lengthen the left side of the waist. Bring the right hand onto the right leg, sliding the hand down the leg, rotating the chest up, and then lifting the top arm. Good. So we're going to stay on this side for a little bit longer because this is really, really nice to, well, it might feel harder, but it's nice to open the space which has been kind of compressed, especially around the rib cage. Good. Let's take another couple of breaths. And then on the next inhale, press the feet into the ground to come all the way up. Bring the hands to the waist. And we're going to turn both feet in now, so the outer edges of the feet are parallel to the outer edges of the mat. We're just going to come into a symmetrical pose, a forward bend. Inhale, lifting the chest. Exhale, folding forwards. Just bring the hands to wherever they reach. You can drop the head, maybe moving the head from side to side. Bringing a little bit more weight into the balls of the feet. Good. And then to come up with using our feet. So press the feet into the ground, bring the hands onto the waist, lift the chest forwards, and then coming all the way up. Good. And then we're just going to heel toe the feet together. Come back into mountain pose for a moment. Good. And then from there, we're going to come back to lying down. And let's come down, lying down on the back. We're going to do one more twist and then we're going to rest in Shavasana. So bring the knees in towards the chest, rocking from side to side. And then take the arms out to the side. So I don't have space here, so I'm going to bend my elbows, but if it's more comfortable, you can extend the arms out. And then we're going to bring both knees over to the right, coming into a twist. Let's settle the shoulder, the left shoulder especially, into the floor. Settling the rib cage. Really nice to de-rotate. Again, coming back to center, and then let's drop the knees over to the other side. Good. And there's probably one side that feels a little bit more awkward or that feels harder to twist. So just notice that. Good. So let's slowly come back to center and then set yourself up for Shavasana. So it's just simply extending the legs and just resting the arms in a comfortable position. If you've got something to cover your eyes, cover your eyes. If you have a bolster, you can use the bolster for the backs of the knees, just making this as comfortable as possible. And then close your eyes, just allowing yourself to sink into the floor. Allowing for any remaining tension just to melt, to drop, to dissolve. Just noticing your breath for a few moments and then going deep inside. Enjoying some stillness, some peace. And you can stay here for as long as you'd like, and when you're ready to come out, just slowly moving the fingers and the toes, bending the knees, and then rolling yourself over to the side and taking your time to come back up into sitting. Good. So I hope you enjoyed this practice with me today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up in there. I always love to hear from you. And if you've got any questions about working with me or yoga for scoliosis, then you can go to my website. All the links are in the description below. And I will see you very soon for the next video.